I'm not dumb. And so that being said, I know your intentions by calling me she or doing those things. Like, I don't.
Do you think that that's with the intention to like disrespect you?
Yes, 100% I do.
It's actually not to disrespect you. The reason why I use sex-based pronouns not to insult the individual.
I don't feel insulted because I agree with a lot of what you said. And I don't think it helps me as a transsexual to pretend that I'm a man. Twisted. She doesn't need to be that way. I don't know why she is. I really don't know why. It's disgusting. That's why the slightly twisted female needs to be taken out. Taken out. I'm not kidding. That woman is sick and toxic. So
one of the things that truly pissed me off with Buck Angel, or even with Blair White, is that the simple fact that they believe that they're the reasonable ones in the room. But this is clearly delusional, because as we've seen from the clips, they're not that bright, and they're pretty hypocritical as well. They're the types that say that they're the grown-ups in the room, while also saying that people should be taken out. This is literally just the facade falling off his face, and we're starting to see the real colors behind the mask. So, with the introduction and continuing with this video, let's get started.
Particular age that could benefit from transition.
To get to the endocrinologist, my doctor had to approve. To get to the endocrinologist, my parents had to approve. And then it came all down to me.
That's right.
Are you going through with this? I check mark yes.
Well, because you went through a whole system and you took the time to really evaluate what this all meant. And it sounds like your therapists are the real kind, not the affirmative kind.
Yeah,
right.
There's
you know, we care about the children. We just really care. We really care about the children. We care about them. But the reality is they care as much as they can throw them. The whole reality for the true transsexual movement is they want to put kids through a system. You know how you put bad kids with bad behavior into a detention school and then get surprised when they go straight to juvenile or even prison? It's the same pipeline, but now it's the pipeline to be a transsexual. So they put the kid through therapy and then say, we're trying to help the kid find alternatives to transitioning. And then they end up being transsexual, and it's no surprise because it's a pipeline that's engineered to make kids transsexual. That's why I obviously say, when it comes to kids, just honestly, just let them be kids. If they need therapy, let them get cognitive therapy, not anything related to trans care or trans questions, because that's going to escalate to a full-blown transition. This is just obvious 2 + 2 = 4. And the fact that we're listening to people who are enabling the system rather than actually doing things that actually work is the most baffling thing to me.
The term woman, as with any gendered term, is a socially constructed term to refer to a community of people who, by lack of a better term, self-identify as women. The cause of that self-identification may come from a biology, but it may also not. And you could argue that the term woman has to refer to people with XX chromosomes and that's it. But for the last couple of 100 years, there have been people who don't fit into that chromosomal perspective that any reasonable person would still call woman.
Male has ever been pregnant or given birth. Part of what makes you a female is having a vagina.
The transgender faction. Now, the main thing about transgenderism that really gets under my skin is that even when I was transgender, as you can see with previous images, that you understand that I even couldn't get well with the transgender worldview because of the simple fact that, okay, if you identify as a woman because of the basis that you are a woman, then it becomes a circular argument that's based off forcing everyone to believe that you're a woman or else. This is insult to injury when you actually understand real women saying, okay, wearing a dress and putting no effort into your transition and walking into the woman's room does not make you a woman, it makes you an invader. And there's also add insult to injury when I'm a gay guy dating and you have someone who's saying that they're a man but it's clearly a woman. Or when you have a woman literally in the femboy cosplay community that says that they're a femboy because they're a man that's now a femboy. It gets more confusing and more insulting the more you test it. I love the transgender lesbian because let's pretend that, yes, straight man in drag is pretty much not invading lesbian spaces. As I said, I will continue to say, being a man is adult human male. Being a woman is adult human female. And the quicker we understand this, the actual reality, we can move together. Otherwise, we're going to be in delusional land.
Like you probably were in like what, like middle school, high school, when I was in college, which is, again, it was a time when I was starting to hear it more, but I was like, nobody would ever actually want to be that. You know what I mean? I was like, you must be really mentally ill, because it's like, and you know, people always look ridiculous when they try to become the other. So I'm like, I thought it was so fringe. I could never imagine that people would actually want to like catch this on and want to, you know, join this. It just made like no sense to me. It's like,
people who are very new to my page, I am not trans. I will never be trans. That's not on brand for me. I'm sorry. I am just a feminine man. That is really just it. I am a normal gay man. That's as far as it will ever go. I was born a man.
The gender critical movement. Honestly, it's one of my favorite factions that I've listed among this list because I agree with a lot of principles that the gender critical movement represent. The history is this. Here's the short story. Basically, it started off as a feminist movement and split off the minute 2016 hit because people realized those same-sex marriages passed. Well, now you have trans rights being passed. And actual women don't want actual men in their spaces. Who would have known? So that's how the gender critical movement grew off from the grassroots, pretty much succeeded in the UK, and now are making efforts in the United States. The very problem is the United States. As we get to learn more about the gender critical movement, they make completely devastating blunders in the US, and they think the UK model is going to work the same in the US. I say no, and it's time to move shop or completely concede. But you can't fight a campaign in a complete country that goes against your very philosophy. The gender critical philosophy is arguing that it's not the state responsibility to help people with mental illness, but the United States literally have bridge cards and SNAP benefits and Social Security and SSI that help people with their mental illness. You kind of see why it falls apart. Detransitioners. Now this one is a mixed bag, kind of like a mixed jelly bean bag. One side is extremists and Christian. The other side is actually informative and will help change this 10-year debate for better. And the thing about it is this. While this 10-year conversation is being dictated mainly by the transitioners deciding to end it, the other three factions actually want to prolong it as much as possible. The thing about identity politics is it has many factors to it. Whether it comes to the Black Lives Matter or the transgender community or basically Palestinian lives, the most asinine example of identity politics that I've observed has been from the transgender space because it's the new Western sacred cow. You can't really talk much about it, you can't talk much against it, and you either have to completely comply or completely be its dissenter. This is not only dangerous, but it's also not true because nuance exists and you can obviously say that you're full of crap. You should be able to say that with any subject.
Yes, I'm trans. Yes, I'm talking about it. Detransitioned and all of that. And so all of that is valid. If that's how you feel, called or what you're supposed to do, or that's your life, right? But this is mine.
LGBT community saying, you're fake, you're a fraud. You can't be a part of this because you believe in Jesus. and I like to be in the middle and say, want to bet?
On the contrary to Blair White video and even Tori Nicole video, these individuals, particularly transsexual identified males, love to come with the rhetoric that one can also be Christian and transsexual. I have to rail back against on this claim because that's preposterous. You cannot belong yourself to a legacy religion and then belong yourself to an entire framework that say that you dictate your own body and your own autonomy. It's as if someone proclaimed themselves to be a Lavean Satanist or even a pistivist or anti-deist, but then want to hold on to Anglican roles in the Anglican Church. It's, like I said, preposterous. You can't come from the framework of trying to modify and recreate yourself in your own image, but then submit yourself to the image of God. It's a contradictory premise that keeps falling apart like a Jenga tower. Not to mention, a lot of this is based off people, again, having to believe you. If I simply don't believe that Blair White is Christian, then Blair White is simply not Christian. Again, most of transsexuals and transgender activists and even proponents keep arguing on believe me positions rather than objective positions. It's like the thing with identity politics that I've noticed a lot is unless you believe in the individual, nothing they say actually matters.
Hoping it will help him to understand.
And I think like a girl, but I just have a boy body.
Oh, that's a cute video. So what parts of a boy do you have?
Her arm.
It didn't hurt as much as I thought it would.
The medication stops testosterone from entering her body, essentially pausing her natural male development.
She has no detectable testosterone in her system right now.
Zero? Wow.
They block any facial hair I might get or armpit hair, maybe like just so I don't look like a boy, or even getting a deep voice also.
Jazz is 100% girl.
Is okay. We understand identity politics is pretty toxic and it's been dictating the conversation for 10 years straight. So naturally we have to have a solution. Something that will rectify the situation and bring some type of reconciliation. Well, unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen in the next 10 years. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all solution. I could argue a transgender license, but then that would piss off the gender critical and detrans. I can argue a sex-based rights solution, but that would completely alienate the entire transgender and transsexual communities and prolong another culture war in another protest, and it would just be asinine and be too unbearable. So ultimately, I came to the conclusions that we had to come to when it came to world religions. The separation of church and state. But in my conclusion, the separation of identity in the state. I don't believe that you should have identity in the state be in legislation or law. I believe that the state should be universal. It should treat everybody off a utilitarian principle, not based off what their identity is. If we keep identities out of politics, then we can truly have a society that's pluralistic, but also fair and equitable. And I think that's the path moving forward with this discussion. Anything else would honestly prolong this discussion, would make it pretty much drag on more than screen time, and we'll get nowhere. I say keep the separation of identity and keep the separation of politics. That's my stance on the whole entire subject. And that's what this video exists for. Ultimately, I believe it's only one solution for this problem, and that's truly to move on and focus on bigger priorities. And just, like I said, keep identity separate from politics. Keep identity out of law. Make sure that if someone tries to identify as a woman and go into female spaces, that they're treated on their birth certificate what they actually are. and that our alternative space must be included. That's the reality of the equation, and that's how we end this identical political issue. Because ultimately, when it boils down to it, I always ask trans people, if you're truly secure in your identity, then someone misgendering you shouldn't be a problem. If someone necessarily blasphemes Christianity, I'm secure enough as an Orthodox Christian to honestly disagree with it and change the subject. But with trans people, they can't do the same. And if you wish to become a part of society, you have to adopt what society calls tolerance or mercy, or actually understanding your opponent rather than dismissing them. So that concludes this video, and let's pray. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Amen. So if you like this video, make sure to like and pretty much share this video. And please go to the comments, because I would like to hear your opinions on this. See ya.
All men are not created equal. Some are born swifter of foot, some with greater beauty, some are born into poverty, and others born sick and feeble, both in birth and in upbringing. In sheer scope of ability, every human is inherently different.